and welcome back to Stories Across Borders. Here we discuss stories across a whole range of different mediums, books, movies, games, you name it. As always, though, our one rule is that we can only talk about things in terms of the writing. Effects, acting, mechanics, anything like that is off limit. I'm Daniel Radford, author Astral Projection, and also your host. Tonight I'm joined once more by Jay and John Kernan as we continue making our way through the vast media franchise that is Star Wars. This time we're diving into the deep end and taking a look at the much maligned sequel trilogy, so this is bound to be a spicy one. It's also the second time we've attempted this, so sorry for the delay on the episode. Unfortunately, OBS decided it hates me.
I for one am really happy to be talking about the sequel trilogy again.
Yeah, it's so nice to repeat painful experiences.
Whoa! So in case it wasn't clear, like much of the fan base, all of us have complaints about the sequel trilogy. It will be interesting to see where those complaints overlap and where we disagree. So we may as well get started with episode 7 and see where things carry us from there. So, thoughts on The Force Awakens?
Episode 7, The False Hope.
Honestly, I mean, I don't have that many direct problems with The Force Awakens. It's just kind of an overly safe movie that, other than a couple things, does too much retreading of the same, like, themes and ideas and everything of the original.
Like, the first time I saw it, I was just hype as fuck because we were finally getting more Star Wars. To the point where I was like...
New Star Wars, yay!
Yeah, and it was like, okay, these guys are back, these new people have promise. And it was like, it was very, very Star Wars in every conceivable way, but arguably a little too much so, because it was basically just the sequel trilogy condensed down into one movie.
I was like, oh no,
Wait,
Indiana Jones.
Not the sequel trilogy, the OT. Let's get that correct.
Yeah. And then
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I was very sad when Indiana Jones got stabbed.
I too was very upset when they killed Indiana Jones. Don't know how they're going to spin him being back in his new movie.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I defended the sequels when they were first coming out. I defended The Force Awakens. I even defended The Last Jedi, which I'm sure we'll get to, as I don't think that movie is completely flawed in every way.
No.
The Rise of Skywalker.
We'll definitely have a lot to say about that.
Oh, well, I mean...
The Rise of Skywalker is technically a movie.
I genuinely think out of the three, The Rise of Skywalker is the one that is just completely irredeemable. Like, there's nothing good about that movie at all.
It's...
No.
Yeah, no,
it's unironically one of the worst movies of all time.
It's
to pull back to The Force Awakens. Trying to think of the points I made last time we did this so I can retread my ground. But one thing that I really liked about The Force Awakens, but the more I looked at the movie, the more I looked at the sequel trilogy, the more that I considered what was in front of me, the more I came to hate it, the more I came to regret it, and the more I came to question the decisions made with it, is of course the character of Finn, who seems to start off promisingly, and then he has so much potential. He gets ruined in the following movies, realistically, to the point where he's the most bit part nonsense ever in The Rise of Skywalker.
I guess he really was a stormtrooper all along.
But the flaws in his character conceptually were there from the start. Right? They set up, in the first few minutes of this movie, they set up something really interesting. They bring Finn out, FN, whatever the fuck his number was. You're like, here's a stormtrooper, right? Don't worry about the fact that stormtroopers are somehow back, but this is a stormtrooper working for this group called the First Order. But he's not all about it. He's not super into it. We're going to humanize the most basic grunt enemy in the series. We're going to give him a personality, we're going to give him doubts, we're going to give him regrets, and we're going to set up this fantastic character arc for him. We see that Finn is being ordered to do things that he doesn't want to do. He's being ordered to kill innocents. He doesn't want to kill anybody. He doesn't want to hurt anybody. The stormtroopers are faceless grunts that get killed en masse in the original trilogy. That's fine. That's the purpose that they serve. But here we're seeing that Finn cares about the other members of his platoon, cares about the other members of his squad. to the point where the death of one of his fellow stormtroopers deeply affects him. We get a beautiful scene, wonderful, like from like a cinema perspective, from a storytelling perspective, the tree streaks of blood across the helmet from his fallen comrade. And it's a really good baseline for a very interesting character in Star Wars that we haven't really seen explored before this. It's great. It's a great start, and it's one of the things that I clung to in the movie. But the more I have seen it and the more I have thought about it, you quickly realize that they, like, perfect example of how they have no clear direction or concept of what the fuck they're doing throughout this trilogy. Within the first 15 minutes of the movie, they've ruined this character arc. They've completely ignored all the groundwork they've set up, and they've changed it into something unrecognizable and contradictory. Because
All right, I'm helping the rebels now. All right, time to kill 80 of my brothers with a TIE fighter. Woo! Han
exactly,
Solo scream, let's go.
this guy who was set up to be so against violence and to have this care for the little guy, the underdog in his organization, more so than anybody else, meets Poe Dameron, woohoo, cool rebel man. Don't get me wrong, I actually like Poe Dameron. I think he's one of the better characters in the sequel trilogy. But even with that, within 5 minutes of meeting him, he's hopping in a TIE fighter to escape, using this guy to escape, and he's gunning down other troopers left, right, and center with like a mounted fucking spaceship cannon. He's this starfighter grade cannon. He's just blowing up all of these people who he was just working with. It's like if across the entire movie I was hit by tonal whiplash, that would make it a huge negative for the movie. This movie hits you with tonal whiplash in the first 15 minutes and completely betrays the idea of a character that they've set up. And it's like, I think that the beginning of Finn's character arc is like a little time capsule. It's a little enclosed orb of knowledge. And as you look at it and as you watch it, you can take all of these flaws and points of data from it. And it's almost like it's like a self-contained metaphor for the entire sequel trilogy of them giving something with potential that appears interesting at first and then immediately ruining it with their bad writing and their shitty direction. Fuck those movies and fuck the people that made them.
If taking a good character and then killing them killing them as character assassination, then this is like character late term abortion.
Jesus fucking Christ. What a way to put it, but I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he does it like we have all the potential for a good character there, and then just
character at all yet. Yeah, I
just nuff it.
I mean, the thing is, as
It's
well, like,
horrible.
it would have been so easy to bring it back from that because you can justify the fact that he's killing these people by the fact it's that or die. You could even justify the excitement of just being free, putting him on a high, but he never comes back to like a realization of Jesus Christ or Jesus Christ. I guess I've just killed all these.
He doesn't
people.
even like
I didn't
have a
want
cry.
to do this. Yeah, like
that aspect of his character given to us in the beginning of the movie is never brought up again. In fact, within those first 15 minutes of the movie, unfortunately, is actually all the character development that Flynn gets throughout the entire trilogy. Yeah, Finn. Did I say Finn?
Yeah.
Nope. You said Flynn, but that's okay. They don't even.
Did I say Flynn?
Yeah.
They don't even come back to that feeling and that idea of him caring about the stormtroopers when later we literally have big ol' electric bow staff man being like, traitor!
He's no reaction.
Why was that not Phasma?
Why was that not Phasma, the one named character he has, like, a thing with?
Who's Phasma? Oh, you mean that shiny chrome dome bobblehead that they made to sell more merchandise? Yeah.
Shiny.
Because, let's be honest, she's not a character. Is she?
No,
she has, like,
that's the sad thing is
in the whole trilogy.
She could have at least been a character who was there to build up Finn, if nothing else, and they didn't even do that.
Fantastic actress as well. Potential wasted.
Yeah.
Such a waste.
But yeah, I mean, like, Poe was cool, but he was barely a character in the first movie as well, to be fair. And Rey was in an interesting place because she went, like, she was a lot like Finn in a lot of ways, where
Ray.
there was no major problems with her in the first movie. She was
No,
powerful
there
but
wasn't. No.
inexperienced, and most of the skills she did have were justified either by her coming into her own with the Force or just by the way she lived and grew up. And
She was a survivor in the
yeah,
first movie, wasn't she? That's the
pretty
best
much,
thing
yeah.
about her, right? She was able to fend for herself on a hostile world. Of course, she'd pick up some survival tactics. Of course, she'd pick up a few fighting skills. A lot of people like to complain about that movie. Main complaint that they make is that she beats Kylo Ren, right? Kylo Ren just got shot by a bowcaster,
Yeah.
folks. And if you're
One of the most heavy duty,
The
like,
fact that it was
handheld weapons in the
standing
Star
out
Wars
on it,
universe.
like at all, is a miracle.
Yeah.
Like-
Bowcasters hit like
yeah.
sniper rifles with bigger bullets.
like for those that are in now, people that are in the know with the Star Wars lore have looked into it. I'm not going to blame people who haven't for not knowing this, for the record, but for people who have looked into the Star Wars lore, you think getting shot with a blaster is bad. The fact that he was shot by a bowcaster and was still able to function at all, the fact that like half of his stomach hadn't been chunked out, is either he's got some strong ass anger keeping him standing, or Chewie took pity on him and shot the stun.
It's those
Because
Ben Swallow abs.
must be, yeah. He just reflected it with his sheer chiseled body.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's clear, like that is one of those complaints that people have that makes no sense, because not only was he just shot, he was toying with Finn and Rey at first and trying to convert Rey by the end, so of course he fucking lost. He underestimated his opponent.
Yeah, he was
That
never
fight-
like actively trying to kill
And
her,
he
because
was
even without
actively injured.
even
People
without
love
the
to-
wounds, we've seen that he's apparently strong enough to reflect a blaster bolt with just the Force. So like,
Yeah, that's
he
crazy.
didn't try to even use the Force to take her down. He was just dueling her.
That was such a cool scene too. Great
Yeah, it was.
establishing shot for Kylo. You really get a feeling, because yes, this is something that theoretically can happen in the lore. You know, using the Force to be able to directly interact and manipulate energy. We kind of see that with Yoda a little bit. We see Yoda use Tuta Minas. Kind of, I'm not sure if that's what Kylo was doing. With similar concept anyway. But it's something that theoretically we know a Force user could do. But it's a very fucking powerful thing for a Force user to do, and it's a great visual. It really it sets his bar so high. While I mean, again, wasted potential with him. I do think he's one of the characters that's handled better in the sequel trilogy than most others.
I
Still
agree
wasted
with
potential,
that.
especially by the end.
Yeah, there was definitely things they did wrong. But yeah, I think that mostly covers The Force Awakens. Like, it was by and large a solid movie. There was a lot I legitimately liked, and there was some interesting foundations made for some characters that were very quickly forgotten and ignored in that movie or subsequent ones. There was definitely some flaws,
Actually,
but
for the record, I actually really liked what they did with Han in that movie as well.
yes,
I
honestly,
actually thought that was
yes.
pretty poignant and well done.
I thought
Yeah,
Han
it was a bit of a
fantastic.
shock factor. Yeah, it was drawn on our heartstrings, but goddamn, it did it well. I was invested, you know, invested enough to defend or perhaps overlook the points of the movie that were less than stellar, hoping they'd pull it back. Spoilers. They did not, in fact, pull it back. But
No.
They did handle that hard well. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I completely forgot to. But that was another like very poignant and touching like story arc that we've never really seen a lot of before. Like we got the reverse of it with Luke, but
yeah, that's another thing. You know, George Lucas likes to say it, doesn't he? It's like poetry; it rhymes. It was a good reflection of that scene. It was as it was said, The Force Awakens. It was definitely playing it very safe, calling back to the original trilogy and rehashing a lot of those moments. But in some scenes like that, I felt like it was a very nice reflection of the
Yeah.
original trilogy rather than like a direct copy of it. If the rest of the trilogy had been handled much better, I don't think it would be looked back on as such a negative thing. People might see it as like almost a homage, or you know, kind of contribution to the overall themes of Star Wars as a whole, which is, you know, the hero's
No.
journey, family ties, legacy, stuff like that.
One of the only
Uh,
things I wish they had done different about, like, for instance, Han's death scene, though, is I wish we had had someone else there who was really close to him and had that personal connection. Because I don't think, like, Ray had quite enough of that. It feels like his death scene is directed more at the audience than any of the characters there, which is a little sad.
I get that, but we do have Chewie, and I actually really like Chewie's reaction where he has this anguish and he could kill Ben right there. He could kill him. But I like that he chooses not to because we know as audience who know these characters, we know that Chewie was probably right there throughout all of Ben's early life. You know,
Yeah,
probably watched this kid grow up. So this like
and that's his best friend's son.
exactly. There's this painful, for a character that doesn't speak, I feel like you can kind of feel the pain that he has in this moment where his best friend has just been killed by the one person that he's not 100% willing to kill over it.
Yep.
I do agree though that, Focus probably shouldn't have, Ray didn't really have a relationship with him. I felt like their connection was a little shoehorned,
I
could have
mean,
been handled
Yeah.
better.
Even
on
though
the
Luke didn't have a
major,
whole lot of time together with Ben, he had enough on-screen time with Ben when we saw Ben go to be sad.
They had a very different dynamic as well,
yeah,
I think.
honestly,
They were
Ray
mentor.
had the like least connection with Han out of like that sort of core group of characters that we had
That's
for that
true,
movie.
yeah.
If it had been Finn, I would have given it a
Even Finn,
pass
yeah.
because they had a genuine bond from early on.
All right, well,
But
that's Force
yeah, that's
Awakens.
Force Awakens.
Last Jedi. Now, this is I think most people would agree that the Force Awakens is wasted potential, but there was some redeeming things in it. I think most people would agree that the Rise of Skywalker is a steaming dumpster fire.
No one
The
agrees on
Last
this one.
Jedi. Yeah, no one knows what to say about The Last Jedi. I feel like the general consensus is negative, but I still think that there's
I like
bits
it.
here and there that are.
I'm gonna say it. I actually like this movie. I think it has some very major flaws, which we'll definitely get into. But this is honestly my favorite of the sequel trilogy, legitimately.
From what we've talked about this before, right? It feels like you're 75% positive, 25% negative with this movie,
Give or take.
whereas I'm the inverse. I feel like I'm like 25% positive, 75% negative. I feel like it's mostly a wreck,
It's
but there's just some redeeming qualities hidden in there.
so
I'm fairly close to that too. There's only a few things I like about the movie. A lot I'm a little negative on, and a couple things to make me mad.
yeah. So a lot for me, right? It's a it occupies a very interesting space in the like Star Wars canon and like from a meta storytelling perspective. Because where the Force Awakens is like the OT condensed, the Last Jedi is like the anti OT in a lot of ways. It is intentionally very subversive, and I think in some interesting ways because it's the whole point of it is essentially this isn't a story about bloodlines anymore like you thought it was. Anyone can be a hero, even if you're nobody, and your legends are just
Except
people.
she's not, is she?
Yeah, well, we'll get to that because you know what I'm going to say about that when we get to
Yeah, exactly. The
Uh,
whole the whole message of The Last Jedi, which is one of the only good things about that movie, is the idea that it doesn't matter where you came from, anybody can do the right thing. And then, of course, Rise of Skywalker immediately ruins the only good thing about that movie when we get to the
I wouldn't
inevitable
say the
twist
only
there.
good thing, but definitely.
One of the only good things.
But yeah, it's one of the most interesting things about it is this idea that where you came from doesn't matter. You can do good or bad or great or nothing, and it all depends on you. And I think that's a fantastic, interesting idea for for a franchise that's usually about this is your destined role or whatever. It was an interesting take, and it was fascinating. And again, I also really liked the idea that exploring that your legends are just people, but sometimes you need the legend. Was also a really interesting thing to explore.
On that note, I suppose we should take a step back and address the lanky, chubby, blue milk spewing alien in the room. Um, I talk about what they did to Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, let's get into it. First and foremost, I actually do want to say I did not have a problem with where he was as a character in that movie, but like I liked the idea of what they did with him of saying this is your legend. He's just a guy. He's a guy that failed and ran because he's not necessarily the guy that people remember. A lot of us had some
You
rose-tinted
see,
glasses, but I don't like how he got there because it makes no fucking sense.
Mm, I definitely don't like how I got there, but I also have some problems with how he is too, because to me it doesn't actually make sense as a natural progression that who he was would get to who he becomes, at least not with the chain of events that actually happened.
I mean, that's the problem, is the chain of events that actually happened. Like, that's where the main problem is, because I think it would have actually been better if he hadn't briefly contemplated homicide.
Petricide, honestly. Pediacide?
it
Pedis?
was whatever it was messy. Now, I've gone through phases with Luke as he was in that movie in comparison to who he was. A lot of people act like Luke was the greatest Jedi to ever walk the earth and that he was super powerful. To those people, I say, you're unfortunately as wrong
Yeah.
as the people that hate where he is in that movie, or or you're as wrong as the people that think or that made him the way he was in that movie, I should say. Luke was never that. In the expanded universe content, in the novels and the comics that followed, he became that. He became the perfect Jedi. He was a god among men in that media. He was deified, right?
Because that's
And
what comics do. They just keep going.
yeah, and I mean honestly, a lot of those expanded universe stories, maybe this is my hot take, maybe this is what I'll say that'll make people angry, but they weren't that good, if I'm being completely honest. They were kind of corny, 80s, 90s schmuck. There wasn't a lot of great character development or writing there. Now, there was some, do not get me wrong, there was some quality in there, but Luke in particular was not really it.
No.
If we turn around and we address where he is now, he, in the original trilogy, he wasn't anything special. He wasn't super strong. He wasn't ridiculously gifted in the Force. He was a respectable Jedi who was competent, but respectable Jedi who were competent lost in droves to the Empire. They were slaughtered, genocided en masse. Luke by himself couldn't change that. It wasn't Luke didn't save the galaxy by being a great Jedi. Luke saved the galaxy by being Anakin Skywalker's son and loving him.
Yeah.
And that's who Luke
He
was.
saved the galaxy by facing the darkness head on and standing up to it, where others would
Exactly.
only seek either to destroy it or to run away.
He wasn't super dogmatic. He wasn't the greatest Jedi ever, but he was a good man who looked at some of the most dark and terrifying stuff in the galaxy and he said no to giving in. He looked at his father, who was Darth Vader, who was the embodiment of everything that he could have hated in that galaxy, and he forgave him. And that was what made him a great person. It's what made him a great character, is that. So no, I don't think it's too far fetched to think that he would fail reconstructing the Jedi Order. But by that same merit, by that same metric, I think it's absolutely fucking ridiculous that they thought he would kill his own nephew
Or at least he
because he saw a moment
contemplated
of
for that
darkness.
moment.
Contemplated to the point where he was standing
Yeah,
over him with a lightsaber drawn.
yeah,
It's
like
no
it's
wonder Ben became evil as shit.
yeah. And that's the problem I have with it. That this guy who was able to see light and hope in fucking Darth fucking Vader would then look at his nephew that he was trading and for a second see a hint of darkness and go like again a hint. He had not gone full Sith yet. A hint and was like, "Oh, I need to end this." And yeah, he stopped himself, realized what he was doing, but he should never have gone to that point. And that is the problem I have with how he got to where he is, especially because it was completely unnecessary. Because it would have been far more poignant if he had failed as a teacher and everything collapsed, and Ben fell on his own.
Exactly. It would have made a lot more sense. It would have made way more sense. and it would
I'm
have
also
highlighted the
not
flaws
a.
in Ben's character rather than creating flaws in Luke's to make up for that.
I also have some problems with where he currently is, though, in that like I feel like it would have to take such a different and specific series of events to turn the Luke Skywalker we looked at into this like. It feels like part of where he fell is that he became overly dogmatic along the way, and I know part of that is because he was reading the Jedi texts, and over time after the original trilogy, he was trying to become more of a Jedi. But I don't know. One of his redeeming features was that he wasn't dogmatic before, and it's hard for me to see him getting to this point where like
Well,
he would be
Exactly.
having an argument with Ghost Grandpa Yoda over burning the archives.
is it?
He had to
I
he
don't
had
know
to
if it wasn't that
assassinate
he
his own
wasn't.
character to become the person that he
I
is.
don't think it was that he wasn't dogmatic. Is the thing. Like, I don't think he had the dogma there to go off by. He only ever had his notion of what a Jedi was. It wasn't that he had been taught to not be super. I mean, a little bit because good old Obi-Wan had somewhat learnt his lesson after the first fuck up with the Skywalker family. But like, for 2/3 of the OT, and then some, I guess, if we're counting toward the end of A New Hope and everything, Luke was basically self-taught. It was only
But
later
by the
on
same
that like he started picking up the fucking text and stuff like that, and that would have colored his perspective because he still had his romanticized ideas of what a Jedi was supposed to be. That came into
except
play in the confrontation against Vader, where he went, "No, I'm gonna be what you were."
I guess, but I feel like his past interactions and some of the specific teachings of Ben gave him all the tools he needed to look at those old teachings when he went through and see how they clashed with how he succeeded in saving
yeah,
the
because
galaxy and be like, oh, this doesn't seem right.
let's take a second here and take a step back because no, Luke was in the presence of dogma. He was training with Yoda. The spirit of Obi-Wan was speaking to him. He was in the presence of masters of the old Jedi Order that were telling him to act a specific way, in the way that they were telling him to stay and finish his training when he sensed the turmoil of his friends on Bespin. But even then, he showed that in the face of being a hero, of being brave and courageous and helping the people that mattered to him, the people that he loved, he would betray dogma because he completely fucking ignored everything that they said to him, and he went to Bespin anyway.
To be fair, it
And
didn't exactly go
that
well for
person,
him.
it didn't go well for him, but it didn't break his character because he immediately went, saved Han again with the others on Tatooine,
Yeah.
and then went and finished his journey, finished his hero's journey as he should have. He was vindicated in his actions. And
Yeah,
he
and
had
his
reached the point he was at because he had stood against dogma, because he had become his own version of what a Jedi was. And I think that when he tells Vader that he says, "I will be a Jedi like my father before me," he has defined what a Jedi is for himself. And in a lot of ways, Anakin had done that too, because Anakin, if Luke was trying to be a Jedi as Anakin was before him, Anakin was not at his prime when he was a good person, mind you, which is what Luke is probably trying to emulate, even though he doesn't really know what Anakin was, but I digress. Anakin wasn't exactly an ideal Jedi either. Luke had found his own
Arguably, he was a terrible
idea.
one.
He was awful, yeah, but Luke had found his own image of what a Jedi was, and he had committed to being that, a hero who cares about his family, who cares about the people that he loves, and protects them. And that's what he did. Up until the very end, that's what he did. And then, that guy who had redefined what a Jedi was, who had chosen love, and had saved the galaxy with the love he had for his family, decides to kill his nephew over a spark of darkness. It doesn't make sense. It's not good writing. It's terrible. It's awful.
I mean, it is.
oh
His
Benny
entire
Boy had
character,
himself a
this,
temper tantrum.
Horrible.
but the person that he becomes afterwards, he becomes the very thing that he rejected
Yeah.
in order to become who he was, and he stays that way.
He acts as if that mistake he made and that dark moment overwrites everything he learned in the past.
Luke's
Yeah.
character arc was to rediscover the things that defined his original journey.
I mean,
In
I
the
don't think
sequel
that's a
trilogy, his
bad
entire
thing,
growth, but maybe it's not a bad thing, right? Maybe it's not, but it's not the thing they should have done. Because aside from all of that, Luke is Star Wars for so many people.
Yeah, see,
What they did was they used him as a tool to push their new narrative. They reversed his character growth in order to make him go through it again, in order to try to benefit the story of Rey and to give more credence to the story of Ben. They did that because they thought that Luke would be the key to completing their busted narrative. They thought that he would fill the role that Yoda filled in the original trilogy. And they flubbed it.
It's just
They
not who he
absolutely
was.
flubbed it. It's not who he was. No. It's not the
Well,
arc he should have gone on. There's so much other canon media that shows how he is after Return of the Jedi. The Mandalorian has him in it. The Star Wars Battlefront 2 has post the story of that mode of that game, which is canon, has Luke post End of the Empire, and he is the same guy. He has not changed. You don't see him becoming more and more dogmatic. He is the same guy, and he is devoted to the things that he has learned.
he still goes around wearing a black cloak, even though he's a Jedi. That's cool and brave.
He's great.
yeah.
He is great, and also, I know some people will probably say this, that there's a comic series that contextualizes Ben's fall more, and it extrapolates more on the Knights of Ren. Speaking of which, Knights of Ren, what the fuck are they supposed to be? And yeah, I know the comic explains all of that, but if you think the comic explaining all of that is an excuse for this sort of shit tier writing, no, because Disney is creating media kitties that justifies the bad writing in the movies that you like, does not mean that the movies are better written now.
I'll tell you what the Knights of Ren are. A cool name with an excuse to have guys wear a cool mask.
They're so dumb, bro. Where did they come from? Why are they here? It's so stupid.
Yeah, look, ultimately, I don't personally dislike how Luke ended up. I don't like how he got there at all. I think we could all agree that was bullshit. But I also very much do understand why other people take issue with where he is. It's a divisive movie, and I understand why it's divisive. But there's other components to the movie other than Rey's training arc. We've barely touched on that, actually, but I thought maybe...
But you see, I think that's very telling.
Well, the whole point of her in that movie is that she's supposed to realize that she's nobody and that's okay. And it's very hard to talk about that because on its own, because that's great on its own, but unfortunately the next movie happened. Her whole thing with Kylo/Ben is weird but interesting in that movie. The idea that, they're sort of traveling down some parallel roads where he's struggling with with choices he's made and struggling with the fact he's embraced darkness, and she's struggling with the fact that she's embraced light. It wasn't perfect, but it was interesting and different. But there's not much more to say.
I always kind of wish the relationship between them had turned into both of them falling from the sides they'd committed to and kind of meeting each other in the middle.
So much did I want even that, or just changing sides. I would have been down for that. Would have been completely different. But yeah,
the 8 movie was stuff. The 8 movie was devoted to the idea that Rey came from nothing, and in the most twisted, worst possible way, I will say they succeeded in this. Rey is nothing. She is pointless. She is perfect in the worst possible ways that a character can be. She has no struggle. She learns nothing.
I don't know if that's true.
What a useless character.
I can see the beginnings of it, I'll admit, but
for these first 2 movies as a standalone experience, as encapsulated, there's signs of flaws in it, sure, but I guess it is, again, Rise of Skywalker stuff. If I'm addressing her character as a whole,
yeah.
You know what? No, bro. In The Last Jedi, she does everything perfect too, with no justification.
I mean, she struggles, I guess, is the thing. It's not her movie, for what I suppose is part of the problem there, but, you do see, she is struggling with identity. That is a thing that is going on, but it's not her movie, which is kind of weird, I guess, when I think about it. So she just
She's tiring to think about.
presence
I
to
think
do
beside,
stuff.
I just realized there's a lot of reasons they missed potential there by not having her do something more or like fall to the dark side. I just realized an extra bit of added potential of her falling to the dark side is it would have been a second chance for Luke to handle things better when she like lost faith, ended up having like no faith in his teachings. Because like for one thing, like if she's going to struggle with the darkness there, she also doesn't have any of the connection to him that Ben did. Ben fell arguably because of Luke and the sense of betrayal and all that, in addition to the darkness that was already within him. Whereas, like, the lack of loyalty or connection there could be part of why Rey would fall, because when she would start falling into that darkness and that temptation, she could run away, whether that's because she doesn't want to learn from him anymore, or because her first thought would be that she's a failure and what might he do if she's falling to the dark. There's any number of reasons, but it would be a good excuse for her to leave her training early, get away, then have her own personal struggle. And then we would come back to the one personal struggle that they had been giving Luke in that story, as much as all the stuff there bugged me, and give him his second chance to learn from his mistakes and go back to who he once was and be ready to embrace somebody who's in a bad place and show them the way.
Yeah,
I didn't do any of that.
Yeah, Ray and by extension Kylo in that movie. Like again, I didn't hate it, but they definitely weren't much of a thing in general, and it could have been handled better. I do want to address something in the movie that I really did genuinely like a lot, and this is one of the things about the movie that I think people forget, because of the problems they have with Luke. But Poe's arc in that movie is really good and really well written. Can we just acknowledge that?
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah,
That was cool.
It's a good sequence.
It's like Poe's arc through that movie is legitimately my favorite part of the movie, where Luke is struggling to embrace his legend. Poe has to learn to let his go, and stop being such an arrogant, cocky dick.
It was good. The whole sequence was good. Admiral Holdo was actually a pretty good character.
Yeah,
People like to complain about the hyperspace jump at the end. Shut up, you fucking nerds. Get over yourselves.
that was cool as hell. And if you have a problem with it, well,
It's just
I mean, your
cool.
problem.
Yeah, did it make a whole lot of sense? Maybe not. It's fucking Star Wars, bro. Just relax.
The opening sequence involves ignoring that there's no gravity in space. Get over it.
It's like the most. Like people hard focus in so much to complain about it. It's like the least important part of that whole story beat.
It's definitely not as bad as Leia going Super Saiyan.
Even
that was stupid. Yeah, no.
They could have made it look less goofy, but what she was doing made sense to me.
No, what like in lore with the story and how it works and all that. Yeah, she should have been more than capable of doing that. It made sense. Didn't need to be in the movie. It was kind of dumb.
I mean, everything else about that is fine. It's more like, you could float in space easily enough with the Force. I don't think anybody who's not really good at it could seal themselves from the vacuum of space.
Then there's there was the whole sequence with Flynn and Rose, and like, yeah, I get it. It's a bit goofy. It's a bit silly.
There was some.
It's fun
goofiness, but I didn't have any problems with it.
Yeah, it was silly, but I found it entertaining. I had a good time with it. It definitely wasn't why that movie was bad. It was entertaining enough, and some of you guys out there really focus in on the hate on Rose like a little much, to the point where it's kind of weird. So maybe look inwards, my guys.
Yeah, like I think like definitely for sure, Luke, Ray, and Kylo's part of that movie was the weakest. Although, credit to it, the Kylo versus astral projection Luke at the end was very good. I liked that a lot.
That was good. The visuals of that planet with the red sand and stuff was also really,
and Luke
really cool.
Just being peak Luke.
Yeah, like that was good. If he had been like that the whole movie, it would have been great. But but again, nuggets of potential that are there and are wasted. And now, unfortunately, we have to speak about the point in time where it was all wasted, where it all went downhill, where everything was ruined.
I'm gonna have a lot to say
What-
about this. I hope you're ready.
whatever good, a messy, not great pair of movies could have been saved by a great finale, but instead we had a finale that accentuated everything that was wrong with the trilogy and violently ripped out any good that was remaining by the coattails.
Yeah, to the point where even if the first two had been like consistently good all around, this would still be such a massive disappointment. Hell, it might have been more painful if that
And
was the case.
in just 3 words, you already know what kind of a shit show you're in for, and those words are somehow Palpatine returned.
Yep,
Yeah.
Somehow.
right there in the opening space crawl.
Like, bro, they don't even know in the movie how he returned. Like,
We know how he returned.
We know how he returned now.
Fortnite.
Filoni.
Oh, fuck you, Fortnite. Yeah, I mean, like, Dave Filoni is a
He's
king
doing his
where he's
best.
he's doing his best to fill in all these gaps and make it make sense, and it does soften the blow a little bit, but holy shit, this was a stupid movie.
Speaking of things that don't make sense, I'm sorry, you just completely reminded me about something about this whole fucking trilogy that irks me that I haven't talked about. That we have to get into that before we deep dive into Rise of Skywalker, because it's just the icing on the cake. The First Order makes no fucking sense, guys. Can we just remind ourselves of that real quick?
It's okay. It's been literal years, but King Dave Filoni is out here trying his best to give us a reason as to why it's there.
Yeah,
he's working on it.
The First Order out here being so bad that even with all my faith in Dave Filoni and how much I love The Mandalorian, I'm watching these scenes of the Empire remnants and The Mandalorian, and I'm like, oh, I see. We're justifying the First Order.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the story. Yeah, I don't know why they're called the Resistance.
They are the great power.
They are the incumbent now.
Small rebel force.
Oh, fuck these movies, man.
Dave Filoni is doing his best, but we'll get into that in Mando Week.
Rise of Skywalker bad. Stupid. Palpatine back. Rey's dumb. Why can she do everything? She had like a week of Jedi training. She's the best at everything now. She's out here using old Republic RPG ass force healing powers on this random ass snake. Who taught her that? Nobody in the movies has known how to do that. As far as we're concerned, that power has been lost for thousands of years, and she's just doing it now.
She found it.
They fly now. They fly for decades.
Well, you know, nobody was ready. Nobody with the Force before was just ready to love enough to activate the healing power of love.
Disney princess kiss, you're alive now, Force.
It's a Force.
Okay, yeah, I mean, somehow Palpatine returned. Like there's fuck all we can say about Palpatine being back beyond it being annoying in the first place, because the movie doesn't tell us jack shit about how he's back. They imply that Snoke and all the other little jar Snokes we see were failed clones, and that's about as much as we get. Why the clones would have his memories and shit can only be hand-waved as Force things. And that's only if you're paying attention enough to go, hey, those are Snokes in the jars. And you could be forgiven for not noticing those if you had, fallen asleep already.
We didn't even talk about Snoke, bro. What a wasted character.
Snoke was a character?
Poe's barely in the movie. Finn's entire character arc disappears, and he just becomes race simp number fucking 24. There's another character who Finn meets, and they run across the surface of the ship on little animal things, and she has a name, probably, but she doesn't matter. There's a dagger that was created that perfectly matches the shape of the runes of the Death Star. C-3PO gets treated like dog shit. Like, holy shit, they just emotionally abuse him for the entire movie, wipe his fucking memory. He's like, oh, I want the last thing I see to be my friends. See, C-3PO, they don't give a fuck about you. They treat you like shit.
You don't have friends, 3PO. These are the people who were cackling in the theater when R2-D2 fucked with you in episode 2.
I
mean, that was everything, but
I mean, that was funny, but fuck, god damn it.
Like,
God,
I appreciate like
they belittle his feelings so much
it's
throughout that
great
movie.
that
There's so many
like
things that are wrong with this movie.
it was cool they gave him the moment of the droid making the noble sacrifice, etc., because you know how much I love me the droids. However, those were not his friends. Those were some random people who happened to be on the same side of his friends. Most of his friends were captured or dead.
Yeah, they literally killed off all of his friends
Bro,
before
Darth
they
Vader
did
was a
anything with
closer
him.
friend to this man than these motherfuckers were.
Well, Darth Vader built him.
Exactly. Fucking like who like they've interacted maybe once or twice, and every single time they interact, it's to talk shit about him. They never have an emotional moment with him. Like the fact
It
that
was
with
cool
this
that you remembered he
process,
existed and was important. Could you have maybe done it in a not shit way?
C-3PO gets memory wiped as part of this, right? He completely loses who he is. R2 has a Deus Ex backup data at the end of the movie to bring him back. Whatever. He gets memory wiped. He loses everything.
R2D2 always has a literal Deus Ex Machina.
He loses his memory. Like, they're basically killing him. And they're all for it. There's no hesitation in any of the main cast to do this to him. And then he makes this dramatic moment. He does it. He wakes up. And the very first thing that happens, none of them are sad. None of them make any moment. I think fucking Poe jokes about how it's going to be really fucking annoying that he doesn't remember anything now. That's it. That's the emotional payoff they give him in this movie.
Yep.
Disgusting, honestly, is what it is. But haha, he's the funny droid man, so why should we care about his character?
Droids don't have feelings.
It makes me seethe. Fuck it. Next.
So stupid.
Next on the list. The romance makes no sense. It's bullshit, and I hate it. Let's do it.
Stupid. What a perfect way to cap off the series, to have the most unlikable character in the entire trilogy, also the main character, hilariously, be revived by the only competent character literally sacrificing his life by fucking kissing her.
With no,
So cool.
Like, I cannot stress this enough, right? There was maybe the tiniest sprinkling of sexual tension between those characters in the two movies that came before that. Even that is fucking debatable because it just is. There was
Nah, man,
nothing.
it's so romantic.
There was
They crossed swords one time.
no fucking build up to this sudden romantic feelings they possessed. Even their like weird force connection shit did not have that as an element to it.
He's the big important girl, and she's the big important girl, and now they kiss.
It was
to any of you Tumblr kiddos out there that look at the relationship between Kylo Ren and Rey as anything even close to healthy or anything that made sense narratively speaking, I just have to ask, is your father currently in your life? Were you abandoned? Do you have emotional issues?
Are you okay?
How are the orphanage kids doing?
Do you need me to call someone? Oh, fuck it. It's awful. It's awful. It's also like got this weird Stockholm syndrome vibe because they fall in love. What? Because he's like trapped in her brain all the time and can telepathically communicate with her while shirtless?
Yeah. It
does help that he's shirtless.
It does help. You're right.
I mean, to be fair, he does look like he looks. But anyway, yeah. No, it makes no sense. It's bizarre, and it's literally only there because they are the lead man and the lead woman, and therefore they must want to bone each other.
This is a Disney movie now.
This is a Disney movie now.
I'm usually quite positive. I try to find the good in these things, in these movies. I love Star Wars. I want Star Wars to be good, so I'll try to find the good in it. I'm biased towards this series, especially when I'm watching a Star Wars movie in the cinema on the big screen. I get swept up in the moment. I get swept up in the joy of it all, you know? And I just enjoy myself. For the first time ever watching anything Star Wars for the first time, before I go back and I look at it objectively, when she said, "I am Rey Skywalker," I felt anger. I was sitting in the cinema watching this movie and I was so upset because God, they spit on it. They spit on everything that came before it, even the other two movies that came before this one.
Oh, I'm
When
getting
they
It
to
said
just
that.
that was
I'm
the
getting
moment
to
Mark Hamill stood up in the theater and said, "I'm going to become the Joker."
that.
they
I
they had no respect
The fleet,
for
also, by the
anything.
way, the Sith fleet. How the fuck did that happen?
Hey, let's just go ahead and not recognize Knights of the Old Republic as canon, but also Palpatine found the Star
Well,
Forge.
that's the thing. Like, if knowing this now, I could look at that and go, "Oh, maybe they had a Star Forge. That would make sense. That could be how they did this." But the movie's just like fleet. It was there. Loads of evil Sith you didn't know
Well,
about.
that's
Loads
the
loads
funny
of
thing is,
it's
if I remember right, they say they made them from or with stars or something, and if I'm remembering that right, that means they actually kind of did use the Star Forge. They just didn't call it the Star
they just
Forge.
had so much of that is of the whole situation with Palpatine, the First Order, the fucking Final Order, all that crap. It's just hand waved, and it annoys the shit out of me. But the whole movie is an absolute clusterfuck. And the thing that pisses me off so much about it is exactly what Jay is talking about. It spits on everything that came before it, and it ignores everything about like that the OT built. It ignores everything the sequel trilogy, sorry, the prequel trilogy built. And weirdly, the thing that annoys me the most about it, despite the fact that that arguably still the worst trilogy overall, is it ignores everything the sequel trilogy built up to that point. And
If
the reason that it does that annoys me so fucking much, because the whole reason it flips everything from the Last Jedi on its head, everything interesting and unique and different that Ryan Johnson, not always well advisedly, I guess, but had built, that was different and fascinating and not bad fan fiction, was that J.J. Abrams was back and he was pissed that Ryan Johnson got that second movie. And you cannot convince me that the reason that Rise of Skywalker's everything it did was just to basically write over the top of The Last Jedi and make it irrelevant. Everything. Everything about that movie was designed just to do that because Abrams was being a child. You cannot convince me that is not what happened.
Sure seems like what happened.
if all of these things, all of these problems that we've discussed, right? All of these issues, if they had been isolated incidents, if only if only one or two of them had happened across this entire trilogy, it could be forgiven, you know? If it was
Yeah,
only one or two things, it could be let go as just a flaw in something that was at least decent. But it's that they're all here. There are so many problems, so many baffling choices, and so many insults to what was compiled into this one experience
A solid fucking
that
like
it's
80% of that all in Rise of Skywalker.
uh 50-60%. Let's not be too crazy. But even still, Disney made these movies. They made them to sell toys to kids. They made them to milk more money out of a franchise. Now they have done stuff. The TV shows and stuff. I know that not everybody likes them. I feel like they've all been pretty great, and I've enjoyed all of them.
I've been pretty
But
consistently happy.
Yeah.
these this sequel trilogy, these movies, they were made to cash in on a franchise and try to make something new out of something that didn't really need to be made new. They tried to subvert and change everything about something that so many people loved, and they did it so that they could, market and sell toys to a new generation. Why the most important thing about these movies, and the thing that personally offends me, maybe I'm going to sound like an angry fanboy, I don't care. They made these movies, and to the people who grew up with Star Wars, the people whose lives have been changed by Star Wars, the people who love Star Wars with all of their hearts, they said, "Go fuck yourself. We don't care about you." That's what these movies say. They say your legacy, your lore, the things that you get invested in, the things that you enjoy as a fan of this work that so many people before us have put work into, you're fuckers and we don't give a shit.
What kind of idiot gets excited about all this space wizard bullshit? Let's put the cool glow sticks out in Disneyland. We'll have a whole section dedicated to it.
I just
I just
I like you
they don't
said it was subversive, and I wish I could say it was, because at least then it would have been different and interesting. But unfortunately, the one guy who tried to do something subversive made a divisive movie. Disney got scared, kicked him out, and brought Abrams back, and we know what Abrams did. And yeah, I'm still on
Well,
that. I'll
that's
be on that for days now.
that's back on the Luke thing, you know.
No, I mean, I'm not even talking
Eh.
about that. Legitimately, it makes me so mad that literally what happened is Abrams made a solid movie. It was decent. It wasn't anything amazing, but it was just the OT. And they were like, shit, where do we go from here? Uh-oh. And they were like, okay, Mr. Johnson, do something. Make something out of this. Do something different and make things happen. And he was like, okay, I've got this. I'm going to do something that this franchise has never really seen. I'm going to do something unique. It's not all going to be loved. Some people are going to fucking hate it, actually. But it's going to be different and interesting and worth exploring. And then
But you see,
they
he
kicked
said
it out.
people are going to hate it.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
bro,
he didn't
people
hate
did
it.
hate it.
He didn't
But-
intend for people to hate it. He was maybe mistaken on some things. Don't get me wrong. I'm not defending what he did with Luke or anything here. I'm just saying he was trying to do something, and then Disney got scared because it was a divisive movie. That's before the dust had even settled. People were still hotly debating this one at the time. They kicked him out. They brought the guy who did the first movie, who had no plans or anything, back in, and he had a tantrum and invalidated all the good things that Johnson started building. Forget the bad. Yes, there was definitely bad, but he didn't do anything to fix the bad. He just erased the good. Like,
Yeah,
I know I'm
we had
wrong on
we
this,
had
but
two
it makes
big
me
potential
so mad.
mistakes, one after the other. Because regardless of what Ryan Johnson did, it's generally very inadvisable to, in the middle of a trilogy for a big series, change directors. So first we had step one, I'm not saying this to dunk on Ryan Johnson. I'm just talking about the idea of switching directors. We had the first movie, it's okay. Switch directors, go to the second movie to get something very, very different, and then don't even commit to being different and go back to the first director that you apparently were willing to get rid of so that it can be like a pissing contest.
Mm-hmm. The whole thing.
So stupid.
The whole thing is a mess. It's the first two movies are plagued by, individual issues, I guess, things that weren't capitalized on enough, things that were questionable. Yeah, but there was definitely a lot of good there. And then the fucking Rise of Skywalker comes in, and it like, I'm not someone who gets this angry about media often, because ultimately
Yep.
it's media, it's stories. And I care about stories. I love it. That's my whole thing. But I'm not one of the fan base of anything generally who gets this viscerally pissed about the way a story is handled. But the Rise of Skywalker makes me so fucking angry.
It just
Sequel trilogy.
it felt insulting.
It is insulting.
It's insulting to the OT, to the prequel trilogy. It's insulting to the fucking to Ryan Johnson. It's insulting to the fan base.
Most important, yeah,
Somehow-
that's the most important thing. Honestly, it's important. It's insulting to the fans.
Yeah. And yeah.
Somewhere along the line, the people, some of the people in charge of the sequel trilogy decided you are dumb for being a fan of Star Wars.
It's not even that. They decided they didn't care about why people took issue with things. They only cared about the fact that it was potentially going to affect their sales. Like they took
Yeah,
the
why
wrong
care about the
lessons
feelings of the
from-
people who've been giving you their money this whole time?
Exactly. It was like they saw people had complaints about The Force Awakens, minor ones at that, and they were like, okay, new director. They saw that became more divisive, and they panicked and brought the first guy back, and he then proceeded to shit on everything, and they were okay with that because it made them money. It wasn't about. It was never about telling a good story. And like, I know it's a business. I get that. Making money is the point of a business. Fine. But they took all the wrong lessons from everything. They only saw fluctuating reviews and bottom lines. And when you write a story purely from the intent of making money with no love for the story, that's what happens. That's the atmosphere that we got And again, I believe that Johnson loved what he was doing. I will defend that man a lot because despite his fuck ups, he was trying. But just the whole atmosphere around it was not good, and it makes me incredibly relieved that Dave Filoni is in charge of the TV stuff instead of whoever the fuck was in charge of the movies. But unless anyone has any other closing remarks,
Fuck people who made those movies.
fair enough.
Dumb,
Yeah, that's
dumb people
dumb
hurt my feelings with
Sequel
dumb
trilogy
movies.
bad.
yeah. So
Upsetty spaghetti.
that's where we're at. Like there was some legitimate good in these movies, and I'm glad we did make a point of acknowledging the things that, even if we didn't all like them at times, that we did like and that were done well before we got to the end of it. Because that's one of the things that makes me saddest about the sequel trilogy is the wasted potential and the good that goes.
If it had been
more
bad all
goes
the way
all
through,
bad.
it would have
hurt
legitimately
less.
hurt less if it had been bad all the way through.
That's all
There-
for now.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, there it is.
yeah, we got to cut it off, or we're just gonna keep going into a cycle of Star Wars depression forever.
I have to go to work.
He has to go to his real job. I need to sleep.
I have to go lie in my bed and cry after this.
Jay needs to go to therapy.
Not
See, this is
again.
why it's the perfect time for me to go to work. I'm already hiding my tears there anyways, so like it's nothing different. Everything's the same.
Thank you for bearing with us through this emotional roller coaster, and also for us getting this episode out because of all the technical problems I've been having. You can, as always, find this episode on my site, radfordwrites.com, if you're getting it from other sources. I also share stories and things there. As of this, I've started doing like articles and bloggish kind of posts there too, because why not? You can find me on Twitter as well at DanielWright7. I sometimes tweet things. I'm very bad at it. I promise I'm trying. And you'll see more of these guys in future projects of mine, certainly, because I'm a bad friend. I'm going to rope them into it whether they like it or not.
Nice.
Bye.
May the force be with you.